As I mentioned before, only 20% of the country is now very confident in our elections, and that is an insanely dangerous number, but I think it's understandable. The good news is that it is fixable. I'm going to show you a report compiled by the Foundation for Government Accountability, and it goes step by step showing how we, the people, can restore confidence in our election system. There are 8 steps to securing the election, and everything has to be done at a state level. The federal government, constitutionally, does not have anything to do with the election. Every state gets to make its own rules as long as it is secure. We have got to get more active in state and local elections if we're going to have a shot at getting anything done, and that is known on the left, but it has not been practiced by the right. Now, everything that is legal should be done. But the first step is states must ban ballot harvesting to secure elections. I agree. Ballot harvesting is awful. But the other side must play the legal game or you're going to be left in the dust every time. But this should go away. Ballot harvesting is when a third party, collects and submits the mail-in ballots from other individuals to be counted. Is there any oversight? Or are there bad actors along the chain of custody? We don't know. Were the voters influenced by the third party? Did they actually check that box? These are all good questions, but the lack of answers are not making any of us more confident. In fact, in 2018, multiple Republicans in California saw their apparent election night wins eventually turn into losses. Now, perhaps these were all legitimate, but Republicans pointed at a recent change in a California voting law that, quote, lets voters allow anyone to drop off their absentee ballot rather than a family member as previously required. That has opened the door to what they call ballot harvesting. Now, keep in mind, this was before the pandemic. Just in Orange County, California alone, more than 250,000 ballots were a direct result of ballot harvesting. So, step 2, prohibit third-party ballot returns and narrow who can return ballots. The ways this can be manipulated are absolutely nuts. A state-employed investigator in Wisconsin found 100% turnout in multiple nursing homes. He called it, quote, absurd. He found intercepted ballots, forged signatures, and residents who were deemed incompetent that had voted. 92,000 residents live in those facilities in Wisconsin. The current president won the state by less than 21,000 votes. 100% turnout. In Michigan, a woman was forced to plead guilty to 7 counts of election fraud. She was caught submitting applicants for absentee ballots on the behalf of people that were legally incapacitated. Now, these cases are everywhere. In Texas, we no longer can pursue them for some reason. These are the cases that the left wants to pretend they don't happen, but they are real. And if they happen on the other side, they're just as real and must be stopped. Step 3, ban third-party distribution of unsolicited absentee application. These so-called nonpartisan actors are shooting out ballot applications like confetti to anyone with a heartbeat, sometimes without the heartbeat, and sometimes to potential voters that walk on 4 legs. I'm not making this up. Some of these mailing operations, and I quote, send voter registration forms to the deceased, longtime voters who are already registered, and even to pets with human-sounding names. Step 4, ban unsolicited absentee applications and ballots by government officials. States were sending out so many ballots in the 2020 election, people didn't know what the heck to do. It is all documented. People were getting multiple ballots. And I'm sure there's no way that that could be taken advantage of in today's America, on either side. The mainstream media went into overdrive to try to tell people what to do. Receive 2 ballots? Here's what to do. Step 5, States should adopt strict guidelines for absentee ballot return. Now, this one should be obvious because how we vote is rapidly changing. By 2008, 75% of the country still voted on Election Day. By 2020, only 28% voted on Election Day. Half of the votes came in by absentee ballot. This is extraordinarily dangerous. Don't take my word for it. Ask Jimmy Carter. Quote, absentee ballots remain the largest source of potential voter fraud. Everyone knows this, but now that we become so partisan, we can't even have this conversation. Step 6, require identification to vote absentee. I can't get my driver's license without having ID. I can't get on a plane without having ID. I can't buy a drink, well, I can, without having ID. It's the hair, it sets them off, they know. There's so many things that you have to have ID for. We all know, left and right. This is popular on the left and the right. Why isn't this already a thing? Multiple ballot applications are being sent to the same people, dead people, pets. Imagine what could be done with no absentee ballot ID requirement. The state of Nebraska just signed a law in addressing this, but much of the country has a long, long way to go. Why? Step 7, prohibit unsecured drop boxes. This is yet another obvious solution, but it's the opposite direction that we seem to be headed. The state of Arkansas is making great movements on this. Step 8, require absentee and mail-in ballots to be returned by election date. For the love of everything that is good and decent, please, how come we can't get this one done? You have to return. If you don't show up for your doctor on time, he still charges you for the appointment. I'm going to have to break the shirt out again. I think that this is not about the 2020. No, this is one about if it's not counted in less than 4 hours, contact your doctor. I mean, all votes should be counted on Election Day, period. The longer it drags on, the more people lose confidence. And I think we can all agree, we don't want that. We want people to feel confident about what that number is. If all of our states implemented these 8 steps, voting confidence would be fixed immediately.